What's up, Matt?
Just chilling, dude. Had a Sunday working, fixed the lawnmower, mowed the lawn. I did sell a junk car out of my yard today. That was good. To the
Hell,
homie Shinobi, shout out.
hell. So it's been a long time
Yeah.
since we have done a show without a guest, and you know, we've talked about it a couple times, and we kind of kicked one around of we need to put one together again and just kind of, I guess, talk about where we are, not as a update for whiskey and windage. We don't care about that, but we're kind of gonna throw some topics that might be controversial back and forth to each other and kind of just go over what we've kind of learned. Is that kind of what you're feeling?
Yeah, because it's been a bit of a roller coaster and you learn a lot pretty fast. So yeah,
Yeah.
one just me and Mike.
So for everybody listening, before you leave, let me just go ahead and tell you what we're going to talk about. Um, we're going to get into and kind of volley back and forth talking about the state of the industry right now, what we have seen in our experiences behind the scenes. We're going to weigh in on the suppressor market, talk about is there too much redundancy in some things, gatekeeping, marketing and community and reviews and creators and all that stuff. So we're going to go ahead and touch on all those things and a few more things. But before we do, it's still we still got bills to pay. So let's go ahead and get to our Ask AI segment, Matt.
All right, this week's Ask AI is brought to you by our friends over at Wheeler Tools.
When precision matters, trust the tool that delivers. The Wheeler Pro Series 100-piece fat wrench kit brings unmatched control to your bench. With torque you can trust and 100 purpose-built bits, it's the all-in-one answer for gunsmiths, builders, and perfectionists. Whether you're mounting optics or dialing in fine details, this kit hits every mark. Clean, confident, repeatable. No guesswork, no strip screws. Just pro-level performance in your hands. Upgrade your bench with Wheeler Tools.
So I ask AI, who is Whiskey and Windage?
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
I've never done it either. Just that simple too. Who is Whiskey and Windage? So who is Whiskey and Windage? Whiskey and Windage is an independent firearms-focused podcast and media platform that blends long-form conversations, industry insight, and laid-back, culture-driven tone built around guns, gear, and the people behind them. What it is. At its core, Whiskey and Windage is a guest-driven podcast that features firearms manufacturers, industry professionals like engineers, marketers, trainers, content creators, and influencers in the 2A space. Episodes are typically structured but conversational, mixing serious discussion with humor, whiskey talk, and behind the scenes perspectives you don't usually get in traditional media. What makes it different? Deep industry access. Guests often include people from companies like suppressor manufacturers, rifle builders, and optics brands. Unfiltered tone. It's not overly scripted or corporate, more like sitting around a table with industry insiders. Consistent segments. The show often includes reoccurring elements like rapid fire, origin stories, and future looking discussions about the market.
All right. Well, let me go ahead and weigh in here. I got a couple things that are wrong. Say, like our homie John Patton earlier on X a couple weeks ago said, all podcasts are boring. So we didn't get, yeah, shout out, John. Thanks,
Oh,
bud.
yeah.
Then it did talk about how we have segments. Rapid fire hasn't been done in
Yeah.
almost a year. And it said something else that was wrong.
Let's say
Yeah, it was like in that second paragraph, it said something else that was wrong.
reoccurring elements like rapid fire, Q&A, origin stories, and future looking discussion about the firearms market.
Well, all that was wrong except for the future looking. But anyway, forget it. We don't need to get into that. Yeah, what did you think?
AI is cool. Thanks for the pat on the back, AI.
Yeah, that's kinda it, like,
Yeah.
basically,
It's like, good job, guys.
yeah, we're not big enough for AI to really know who we are. Um, yeah, I could spend the whole episode just Googling other podcasts, and I bet you it would get those right, but anywho.
Yeah.
I guess let's just kinda set the tone. I kinda
Yeah.
talked at the beginning, but, everybody, these are our opinions. It's all in good fun. We may say some names, we may not say some names, but all of my opinions are gonna be based off of real conversations and shared information that we have with each other, with other people in the industry, companies, br creators, you name it. So, that's kind of it. So, Matt, are you ready to get started?
Let's get it going, dude. This is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, let's just see how it does. And anybody that's listening, if you haven't left yet, just go ahead and comment and let us know kind of what you're seeing or what you'd like to see. Also, if there's other shows or other things you want done, like definitely let us know. But let's start with the first one. Um, he's been on a couple times, and I'm talking about Kevin Brittingham, but
Oh,
he he has always said that, he's innovating and nobody else in the industry is innovating. And we hear things that are truly innovative, and then we hear things that are dressed up under the guise of innovation. So, is the market and the industry truly innovating, or are they just kind of, I guess, what I just said, marketing under the guise of innovation? And they're not really doing much different, Matt. What's your thought?
I think it's a pendulum that's going to swing both ways. There are definitely innovators out there. What each person's perspective would call innovation, could be a little bit different. But there's definitely companies and creators who are innovative and are innovating. But there is a very large part of the market that I think is not innovation. A lot of copycat stuff, a lot of undercutting, a lot of this looks like this, but I can sell it to you at a far cheaper price. Not
Yeah.
really adding anything. They're just kind of, backbiting a little bit.
Yeah, like, a good example would be, and I'm kind of, actually being positive on this one, even though they haven't been on the show yet, but like Glock, for example, you drop a Gen 4 and the Gen 4 comes out and then the Gen 5 comes out and, oh, but wait, it's better. And is it really better? Certain aspects probably are, certain aspects aren't. At the end
Mm,
of the day, to the average guy, they're going to look and say it looks the exact same. Now,
yeah.
what they've done between the Gen 5 and the Gen 6, excluding the whole V thing, you can look at it and say, okay, I don't know if you call that innovation or if it's more artistic expression and what it should have been. But, that's actually something that the consumer base wanted, they've screamed for,
Yeah.
they've started to deliver on. Like, I guess give me an example of, and you don't have to use brands, like I said, unless you want to, but give me an example of something that is definitely innovative, and then give me an example of something that isn't innovative.
Hmm. Well, and this could be true with I guess, any product that comes out, but I am a big fan of AKs. Obviously, I'm the resident AK goon. And so, like, I'm a big fan of companies that are bringing innovation to that platform still. There's a lot of haters out there, it's a dead platform or whatever, but in the underground, like, there's a lot of really technical, really advanced stuff happening for AKs from quite a few different companies. But then um, there's stuff that it just isn't. They're just making it to say it goes on an AK, and it kind of does, but it's not. It's just it. It's just not doing it.
Yeah, I mean, my example is one and the same, but it's basically, and this isn't all about, certain brands or certain models or whatever you wanna call it, but I
Mm,
mean, just in general, suppressors. You've got
Yeah.
suppressors that, to name positives. You've got people like Thunder Beast who are doing things to reduce recoil and improve POI shift. You've got, you know, Huxworks, like flow through, hate flow through, whatever. They innovated and came out with flow through design.
Mhm.
Those things are cool. Those things are innovative. Then you look at other brands that are coming out, and I understand all these guys. Well, I hope all these guys are putting in the engineering time and designing something through SolidWorks or whatever it may be to come up with their rendition of what they think is the quietest or most durable or most bomb-proof can on the market. But there's companies that are questionable as far as, all right, what you look like you're doing is a cash grab, and you're
Yeah.
taking legitimate companies. You're basically copying as much as you can out of it just to, make a buck. Um, and so there's that aspect of it. And I guess that kind of boils down to my next point on this innovation of, we see a lot in it, and suppressors is another good example of kind of like spec sheet marketing.
Yeah.
There's a versus real world performance. And too many people like to do decibel readings and ratings and all that, which is important. And I'm a stickler for that stuff. I'm a nerd
Yeah.
for it as well as. But you and I both know, and we know firsthand, that there are certain DB mics out there that you can calibrate to read 10 or 15 decibels below zero. So it technically starts. They're not showing it, but it might read -15 is what the calibration is.
Mm.
It shows zero. When you shoot, it registers 130, but in actuality, it's 145.
Yeah.
Again, are you going to pick up 4, 5, 6 dB with the human ear? Probably not. But there's a lot of stuff, and I think that as a consumer, if you're purchasing a product that goes to, and again, it's another shameless plug for Thunder Beast, but if they're going to that silencer summit that they put on where they put them up against everybody else's suppressors and kind of do the competition, I think everybody that shows up to that's legit. Not to say that people that don't aren't, but I probably could take all the suppressors behind me, make a video, and make one look like it's definitely quieter than the others.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that comes right back around to what I said first of like there definitely are innovators out here who are pushing boundaries, bringing new technologies. And then there's another group of companies that are grabbing that trickle down effect afterwards, a nice way of putting it. They didn't really bring anything
Yeah.
to market. They're just making the same thing at a lower price point.
Yeah, it just kind of feels like the pressure to stay relevant is driving unnecessary launches and, kind of pushing that almighty buck, which I get it. The name of the game is to stay in business, but, you know, we'll talk about later, but, the industry is nowhere near what it was 5 years ago. And, by all accounts, there's individual companies that are doing great out there, but overall the industry down. So I don't know. I guess that kind of sums up the innovation part.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about um
And you can pick any of these
I
topics.
mean that leads right into, is the industry hurting right now? We've been doing this a little bit, we're in our third year doing this whiskey and windage thing. So we've got to, kind of peek behind the man in the curtain there. You're an SOT FFL. I run a pawn shop that's got an FFL, and I run a bunch of guns in secondary market. So I think it's fair perspective to ask our opinion on a real broad perspective. What do you think, Mike? Is the industry hurting or is it down versus when we started popping this thing off 3 years ago? And
So I guess let's kind of do like what everybody feels like the news does, and everybody takes a point of view. I mean, one of our guests, Sir Michael, says that that's not really what they do, and I believe
Mm.
him, but I don't think everybody operates like he does. So, for the sake of argument on this, yes, I do think the industry's hurting, but whether you agree or not, you should probably take the I don't know, kinda like a stock market, you should take the, "No, it's just correcting and self-adjusting," for that perspective.
And buy the dip, baby.
So yeah, so right now, it feels like, yes, the industry's hurting. I hear
Yeah.
from people all across, and, every single week, it seems like I'm hearing from somebody who is talking about, "Hey, what insight do you have on this other company? How are they doing? What's happening here? What's happening there?" And across the board, everybody's hurting. But, the first thing is that it's definitely not like it was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, um, money was better, for the end user, consumer market, the inflation wasn't as bad. People seemed to have a couple more bucks in their pocket and were more willing to spend it on that. Uh, Compared to now, I'm putting in Tennessee, not California, dollars a gallon in diesel in my truck, so
Mhm.
money's as good as it was. But, yeah, I think the industry is hurting, like I said, and I think it's hurting equally across the board. I think it's hurting big brands, but they're just so giant that you don't really see it eroding them away, but they know it's happening. I mean, there's a lot of big companies out there that are in limbo, and, they were in limbo middle of last year. I mean, look at what Anderson did. We knew you and I knew, and we won't reveal any of our crazy sources, but you and I knew Anderson went up for sale last year during SHOT. We got approached and was like, "Hey,
We
do
tried
you
to
guys
sell
know?"
it.
Yeah, and we actually arranged some meetings to have some talks on that, and that was kinda cool.
That was weird.
But I'm hearing that about a couple brands now, and, you never know, but I bring up Anderson because the average person, and we can't really talk about much of this because we don't want to get any legal mail in my mailbox. But Anderson supplied a lot of people in this industry parts. Like it, love it, hate it. I could pretty much bet that if you have more than 3 ARs in your arsenal that are older than 3 years old, I'd be willing to bet that there is a part on your rifle that was made by Anderson, and it's not about the forgings or the key mark or the horseshoe. It's none of that. But it happens. I mean,
Yeah.
KAK supplies a lot of the industry. Who's
Yep.
going to make all these D10s and safeties and mag releases? But yeah, I think it's hurting. So I guess you couple that with now, s- you know, I guess rewind the clock 3 years. There weren't many pistols that were over $2,000 for the everyday guy.
Mm.
There were some custom stuff. There was some definite higher end stuff. I mean, we're not ignorant to that, but it seems like the bar has been raised and the point of entry on certain things is going up. Um, you you can still, we talked to Justin at JMac about this, and it's crazy to think that can't get an AK cheaper than an AR when you used to be able to. But now, I mean, across the board, everything's expensive. So what's your thoughts?
I think that's I all of that is 100% valid perspective, and I think when we're comparing it to the previous 5 years or maybe the last, okay, if we're gonna let's subtract about 10 years, close to that range. Like been a good run on ARs. The boom of the AR market after the ban fell, like that was crazy. And then the last couple of power people in power, like they kind of help feed that fire of like, you better go out and get yourself a gun now. And so I don't know that it's necessarily down. I think that we had a lot of new companies come in during that time, and companies that were built in that gold rush. Those types of companies, like I'm sure they're definitely feeling it, right? This may be their first kind of drawback in their business that they've had to deal with. I do, at a certain point, people that want certain weapons are going to buy them no matter what the economy's like, right?
Yeah. But you got to admit, regardless of if you're trying to play the role of, oh, this is just a market correction,
Mhm.
uh, I'm just going to name a few people. You got to admit, it's hard to keep that positivity of just market correction with companies like Aero Precision having a struggling time keeping things in shipping. It's hard with the news, no matter how big they are. It's hard for you to, I don't know, believe that, um, they everything's fine. Or with the, oh, it self shoots. Oh, it doesn't self shoot. Oh, I don't care what the facts say. It still self shoots. Look at the things, that SIG is dealing with. I mean,
Mhm.
certain things aren't hitting right. And you look at the the next generation battle rifle, you look at the spear, and while the spear is cool, it does have some shortcomings. And I'd love to talk to Sig about this. So Sig, I hope you're listening, but it's not hitting like they thought. And
It it's iPhone generation marketing. Every year we're supposed to have something more insane than the previous year. uh it just it's forcing things out faster than they're ready. And of course there's some big names in the market that are catching heat for that, but I think it's almost true all the way down, like.
and some of these people are friends of our show, and I don't want to throw shade at them, but a cool story last year it shot, not 26, but 25 shot. We actually got to go to Staccato Vegas a day before the change day. We got new HD. The HD was cool. Um, do I think they really meant to innovate and do some things with that? Yeah. Did they finally get everything working right? I'm not too sure. I don't own one, but just simple things like, hey, I'm shooting this thing and I'm getting a failure to lock back. Oh, well, you're riding too high. All right, well, let me shoot another mag through this. Hey, it's still not locking back. Oh, well, this, that, and the other. And they did make some changes. So
Yeah.
I hope they got it right. But that kind of goes into the industry hurting to kind of like, hey, we're pushing stuff out to stay relevant. But it also goes back on that innovation of, are I know firsthand that they were innovating that thing. Did they rush to market too quick? Maybe they needed to. I don't have that answer, but things like that happen. I mean, I like Staccato. So there's that.
But yeah, they're not they're not the only examples of. And you get, kind of biased information too, and that's another hard part, is for people, even for like us. It's hard to sort through all the information and all the comments and all the videos on YouTube and all the Reddit posts. It's like, is this information true and correct? And so
But
it's kind of tough to decide what's really happening and what isn't.
so in your business, seeing things and talking to gun guys and going to these shows and also talking to everyday people, like, what do you think that all of these compounding factors are doing to contribution to like consumer hesitation or price sensitivity?
So again, I run a pawn shop, and so I get to see kind of two sides of this. Everybody needs cash right now. Everybody's hurting. And so I don't think that it's specific to the gun industry, gun industry, especially new guns, new accessories, stuff that's in that middle and to upper end, is going to struggle a little. People have less money right now, and that's kind of the gist of it. And as much as I'd like to, freaking throw 10 more AKs on my wall, it's like that my ability to gather them like I'd like to has slowed down,
Yeah. So, God, I hate that I keep, but it's like it's it's going to be the run on suppressors the next
Mm-hmm.
unless the government changes something. Suppressors are going to be the hot run for the next foreseeable future, probably 5 to 10 years. So, bringing up things like it's not that I'm bougie or too good for certain things, but growing up in an industry where suppressors are, excluding some rimfire stuff, suppressors are $600 and up, and most of them are hovering around that $900 to $1,000
Yeah.
mark and up. And it's tough to see people like, our friend Duke Knowledge is, doing his thing with meat muter, and it's a 22 can, and like homeboy is shooting 5.56 through it and everything else, and it's taking it. But I mean, we're talking about a $100 can, or you see the guerrilla marketing that tuna can, and it's just hard for me because if I walk into, we'll just use Home Depot for example, and let's just say I'm buy a hammer, and if I go buy a hammer and I look on the shelf and I want this thing to last a while and I want to get my money's worth, if every hammer on the shelf is $40 and there's this one hammer that's $12.99, something psychologically in my brain tells me don't buy it. And maybe they don't want my business and that's how they feel if they hear this, and that's cool. But it scares me because it's like you're not priced per the market, and I see what you're doing and I appreciate you're trying to drive the cost overall down. I get all that, so I don't need that. Spare me that in the comments. But until we can get a big dog, until we can get a
Mm.
Silencer Co., a Dead Air, an Otter Creek, a Hux, you name it, until you can get one of those guys to bring out a sub $500 can, it kind of leans towards, even if it's not, and I don't have any knowledge of any of these guys that I mentioned or other ones,
Mm-hmm.
it leans more towards, is it hope or is it hype? And it's like, man, I'm leaning more towards, all right, well, if you're innovating and you're taking all the time and you're doing all the stuff, like, how are you selling yourself short, which makes me hesitant on the front end. I guess that's the best way to say it.
Yeah. Well, and everybody runs their business different. Like, a single man roofing crew, he's got a truck and some shingles and a nail gun. He wouldn't charge as much. It might take him a little longer to do it, but he'd make pretty good money and he could undercut a big contractor,
All
So
that, but if you, I was going to say, but if
I'm
you
just playing devil's advocate, but
going back with you, so we're going to go with trades here, and if that roofer does undercut, um, or the lawnmower guy, the guy that comes out and cuts your grass every week, everybody's charging 50 and you charge 20. If you're a high school kid trying to make some extra money during college, most of those landscaping companies aren't going to pay attention to you.
Mhm.
You show up and you're guerrilla marketing and you're doing all this stuff. I mean, they're gonna they're gonna put you in the crosshairs, and they're gonna try to find a way to put you out,
Yeah.
because either they are not gonna want everybody else to know the markup, or they do know what it really should cost, and they're trying to protect the industry. I don't know. I'm out.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword. So, all right, let's move on out of that. We've sat on that for a hot minute.
Yeah.
So, sorry guys.
Yes, the market is hurting. There's still some cool stuff going on. I still sell a few guns at the shop.
Your workspace matters, and the Tipton Best Gun Vise 360 doesn't play around. Built for serious shooters, this vise locks down rifles, shotguns, and ARs with zero movement and full control. Tool-free adjustments, rock-solid clamping, and a 360-degree rotating cradle give you access from every angle. No shortcuts, no compromises. Whether you're building, cleaning, or dialing in, this vise was made to keep up. Tipton Best Gun Vise 360. Built to hold, built to work.
Now that we're back from the break, let's go ahead, Matt, and I'm going to ask this one now. So we're going to talk about what it's really like for those people that aren't in the industry, what it's like behind the scenes. So when we actually get behind closed doors with people, or when we talk to them in person, at events, or we talk prior to or after recording a show, like what's it actually like? And, are companies poised to look like these big giants and it's all corporate? Are they smaller than they actually are? Are the people cooler in your opinion? Like what have you ran into?
Oh man, I've ran into all of that in our short amount of time. Yes, there's a lot of gatekeeping. I do kind of understand why. You can't just like trust every random guy walking up who's like, "I'm a podcaster." Like, okay, I get you. Like, let's see some history behind it, and so I understand that. Um, a lot of the people are really cool. A lot of them are big jerks. Thankfully, I think most of our experience has been with people being really cool. We've met a couple of jerks, but they're fewer and farther between. Thank goodness. That's all true. Companies. It is cool getting to peek behind the curtain a little bit. One thing I like that we shine light on is that some of these companies that seem like big giant industry moguls, like just they must have huge factories. Like a lot of these are, family brands. These are family companies. Like I love YHM. Like that's a great American dream story. That is really freaking cool. And some of them are industry giants. There's little companies that you don't realize are really just a big company and own, a quarter of all the manufacturers in Europe or something. There's huge families out there, but there's really small families too. So it's really nuanced. I don't really have a good clear answer on this. There's a lot going on. It's cool. It's cool to get to see behind a little bit and get a little bit of that industry perspective though.
Yeah. So I guess I guess before you ask me my part, the only thing I was going to really say was, we're still actively reaching out and talking to people on the show. We're not, if we burn bridges, I don't care. This isn't like oh, look at them cover their ass moment. There's a lot of people out there and a lot of companies that, the old saying of, oh, bro, sorry, you get lost in my DMs. Like we all have heard that, but it is honestly true when you reach out to some of these people. And so it's all about persistence. But there have been some companies that we have reached out to and we've gotten the lip service, we've gotten date, we've gotten promises, we've gotten all sorts of stuff, and it doesn't come out. But as bad as I'd want to, I guess as badly as I would want to put those people on blast, I don't. And the only reason I do that is not for my or Matt or our podcast self-preservation, but more of the preservation of the 2A in general. And there's
Yeah.
already enough infighting. So that's why, you won't catch us say too much bad. Now, if somebody does us dirty and it's real dirty, yeah,
We keep receipts though. Yeah.
catch me outside. Catch me.
We do keep receipts. uh, Yeah, that's true. I mean, for the most part, people that work for companies have been real cool to us. Again, there is some natural gatekeeping, but there's a time, we're a few years into this. Like there is a time when people start to like, well, okay, maybe they're not the biggest thing in the world, but they show up every freaking week.
Well, the thing that gets on my nerves, and it's happened quite a few, I would say, I don't know, we're in the 130s. I don't know what that means. We're in the 130s. But I would say out of 100, and we'll just go even 130. Out of 130, I would say that there have been 30 guests that have taken the time to come on the show, have, had a good time, talk, said it was great, all of the things. And we say, yeah, hey, we're gonna push a reel or two during the week. We're gonna collab you. We're gonna do all. Oh yeah, great. We got you. And then put the work in. We treat them just like every other guest, and then we go to launch day and like crickets. And that's the thing that gets me. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't care. You're helping me because we're getting you on the show, but do yourself the solid and be part
Yeah.
of the show.
At least take advantage of all of the product that I'm providing for you for free, I guess. like, like I love talking to people. I'm not looking for money to sit down and talk with folks, but like, if I'm gonna take the time to record a show with you, make some shorts, and the least you can do is like it.
And it even goes so far. There are companies that, there are companies that have sent us products on loan. There have been
Hmm.
companies that have sent us products to keep outright. And some of these companies send us products and tell us to keep them content out. We're like, all right, cool. And they don't like or repost or comment or collab, not just the product video where we put together or the photo or whatever, but they don't even do that for their own podcast, their own people. And so it's like, man, now I'll give them the guy, I'll give them a little bit and say, well, all right, some of these companies are big and they've got a marketing and
Marketing is multi-layered. Yeah.
there's a schedule and you got to get on the schedule. And you guys should have told us a month ago that the show was coming out so we could put time in there to collab. But I'm like, man, just collab it for the week of the show and then delete it off your grid. Like, we don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to get butthurt over that, but whatever. All right. Well, I think we've pretty much covered that topic of behind the scenes. I mean, most everybody we've met's been pretty cool.
So this has been a pretty big topic just before the new year, and then almost all of 2026. Now we're talking mid-April, uh, but suppressor market, boom or bust, Mikey? You think suppressor industry is gonna suffer from oversaturation? Are we gonna benefit as consumers? What about legislation? Like, is it gonna cause an extreme pendulum effect? Where are you sitting on that?
All right. So I'm going to summarize this as quick as possible, multifaceted. Uh, Basically, the days of waiting, you know, just say 8 months and longer for your tax stamp to get approved, those days are gone. But with some of these big guys, even with the ramp of production, and they knew that this stuff was coming, they just couldn't possibly keep up.
Mm.
That has now been replaced with delays and now you're going to get that form 3 back in, we'll just say most people are within a couple days, but we'll just say 2 weeks. Right now your wait time is 2 weeks or less, but your wait time on your can is, unless you're buying what's in stock for sure, your
Hmm.
wait times are, 4 to 6 months plus. I mean, you know, it's it's interesting. We've had people on that have told us that, they've sold since the suppressor ban, since this tax stamp was lifted, basically, they sold a year's worth of cans backlogged. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to hurt the big guys more than the little guys. And I think it's going to hurt the guys that are dipping into the market, like who ran out of overstock or didn't prepare as much as they should have. I think it's going to hurt those guys. But what it's going to do is any of these new companies, any of these startups that have secured, white label third party manufacturing, they're going to sell them as quick as they can get them. And it
Yeah.
is still going to cause delays, but it's going to crack that door open in this industry for those guys to try to get a foothold in and see if they can stay. Now, there's the suppressor market now with all of the companies and all of the things. I think people are going to leak in even 5 years down the road, similar to the ARs. But there's going to be suppressor companies. I will say 100% fact there are suppressor companies active right now that will not be suppressor companies in 5 years. And it's because they're not going to be able to supply and they're going to lose a percentage of their market share or all of it. What do you think?
So I guess broad perspective, I definitely think boom. Um, so much innovation, so many new companies. You're absolutely right that a lot of those companies won't exist in just 5-10 years. But I think that boom is gonna make those that do survive like a whole nother really large portion of the firearms industry. Um, a lot of the OGs are going to be around still. I think that, they were already positioned right, and, they have some insight of how the markets ebb and flow. And for the most part, our relationships with those companies, those people in those positions are like, oh yeah, we're ready. So they had some insight, and that's good for them. But there is going to be some cool stuff coming. There is going to be some guys that bite the dust. And overall, though, I think the consumer is going to win. We're going to get really, really advanced suppressors, really advanced architecture, really advanced materials, all at a better cost.
So the only twist I would put on this is if I was a firearm manufacturer,
Mm.
just for sake, because you don't know where I'm going with this, but just name a manufacturer of a bolt action rifle. Just name any.
Seekins Precision.
All right. So if I was Seekins,
Mm.
if I was Seekins and wanted to dip my toe in this water of suppressors, what I would do is I would go ahead and develop and get the prototypes done and get everything knocked out for integrally suppressed barrels.
Mm.
But I would not market them yet. And that would be tough with Seekins, the way they make their barrels and do all the things in house. But,
Yeah.
you know, if I was, let's flip it back and let's say, and they're kind of smaller, but let's say someone like Savage or Gara or Remington or Rem Arms, whatever the hell they are. Uh, if I was one of those people, I would go ahead and knock out an integrally suppressed barrel and I would have everything ready to go. And I would literally sit until I would wait 3 years until this next election. And the moment they realize that, nothing is going to be done about the tax stamp and it's not going to be reenacted or whatever, or it's gone for good and it's out of the NFA, it would hurt some of these companies,
Yeah.
but I would start dropping integrally suppressed rifles out of the box. I mean, it
God bless America.
makes sense. I mean, but I wouldn't do it now because if you ramp up and spool up and spin up all that stuff and then it change, you're in trouble. But if you got 4 more years of this, I would strike while the iron's hot.
I think there's enough, and again, my opinion should have very little bearing on anybody because I don't even own a suppressor. But just my little bit of perspective of like I would think that there's enough interest in integrally suppressed barrel things that there should be a little bit of development money going into that, even if it's for a real high trim level thing or semi custom thing. People out there, I mean, there's boutique builders already doing that. Our good friend Scott at Ronin, he's got it down to a freaking science. He can do that stuff with his eyes closed. So
But you know, he's on backlog. He's on a big
He
backlog,
is.
but being able to sell like a proof research would be a good example.
Yeah.
Able to sell an aftermarket barrel that is a integrally suppressed. So, you know, what are you paying for a proof barrel right now? Retail, I don't know, $1,000. We'll just call it that. You're paying $1,000 for a proof barrel. Well, if you could do an integrally suppressed one and sell it for 1,700, I mean, you're going to have a market of people that would do that in a heartbeat. But
Yeah.
until it's gone, I don't know. So let me ask you this question, because we get to see the inside we see the belly of the beast. You know, again, I say we have to be careful what we say so we don't get sued. But are too many companies building the exact same products with different branding right now?
There definitely is. Um
Uh,
this is a sensitive subject in this industry because it's so deeply ingrained into this industry that most people would have most people do have no idea. Even some people that work in it have no idea, or consumers of it. Like, I don't know. I've owned guns for years. I've had tons of guns and then had very little perspective on how every little bit and bobble in a firearm is manufactured and assembled. And so whether it's parts or even almost whole guns, like, or whole suppressors or whole anything, there is a lot of just blatant rebrand like blatant rebranding.
yeah, well, you know, and I, my opinion off by saying my first AR I ever built. Actually, the first AR I ever owned was one I built. I didn't buy an AR. The first one I did, I built. Everyone said it was easy enough, and all of the people I spoke with was like, "Oh, well, you don't want this brand because you know their bolt carrier's not good. You don't want this brand because their barrel's no good. You don't want this brand because you want an adjustable gas block and they don't offer one, and blah 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 blah." So I'm completely fine with owning a Frankenstein AR. I'm completely fine with a custom action bolt gun from this guy with a barrel from this guy and a chassis or a McMillan stock or whatever you want to do, and that doesn't bother me. Um, but what I find humorous is when you have people that literally are so brand loyal that they'll look you right in the eye and say, this brand X is the brand and there's nothing better and it's the
Yeah.
best one. And I just know in my heart of hearts, I'm just like, where that blank was made. First, you wouldn't believe me, but then secondly, if you did believe me, you would deny it to my face, and then that dude would be on Tax Swap or Gunbroker tonight.
Well, and like, uh, you build a Frankenstein AR to really do the research and find out it's not a Frankenstein at all. All the parts came from the exact same place, just have different letters on them.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just humorous to me, and I mean, but you're used to that because I think the AK crowd is pretty used to that. Now, granted, it might all come from one brand importing, but just due to the nature of the beast, getting a 100% complete from one manufacturer AK is definitely doable. But then you also run into stuff where it comes to like the 922, the compliance, all that stuff where, oh, you got to have a US part here or you're supposed to, tread lightly. Um, or, whatever it is, like it's just hard to find a brand that makes everything. And again, it doesn't bother me because if I was I'll use ARs as the example again. Like, I could have the best gun on the planet, but there's no way I'm paying somebody to make detents and springs. I'm
Right.
not. I'm maybe if I was innovating some sort of cool, crazy gas block, maybe. But like, if not, like, I would find the best adjustable gas block or the best bolt carrier. I mean, even they don't do it now, but even Mike Mahowski, Sons of Liberty, was talking about when he first started building ARs out of his garage, he was sourcing bolt carrier groups from a specific company, and he was sourcing this from a specific company. And the intention was once he could grow enough to build those things himself, he was going to, which they did. But, you know, eh, I don't know.
Well, and I don't want to sound so negative about it because a lot of it is like AR is a great example because that boom just happened, right? Everybody was witness to like all the different companies that made ARs and AR stuff. And so sometimes it's a company that's like, oh, well, we make a really great barrel and like an amazing bolt carrier that matches up with that barrel. But hey, we don't have the machines to make receiver sets. Right. And so a lot of the time there's something cool and proprietary that that company actually does make, or a good portion of the rifle that they do make. But hey, I'm not going to make buffer tubes. I'm not going to freaking make handguards. Like,
Well, it's kind of like every AR on my wall. I don't care. They're all every one of my grips is a LaRue APEG, and it's
mhm,
because I personally like the way they feel. I don't not a knock against anybody else, and I'll try anybody else's out. I mean, it doesn't bother me, but, I have found that one, it's comfortable to me, and I want all of them to feel the same way. So every AR I have, it's just what it is. But I mean, things like stocks, I'll try new stocks, but, that doesn't bother me. But I also know that, even I brought up Sons of Liberty, but,
yeah,
saying it with them, like, they don't have a plastic injection molding machine,
no,
so they're not making their
no.
stocks and grips. Like, it's just you're not doing it. If everybody did that, that means AKs would have to have a forestry crew because there would be a crew cutting down trees and making hand guards and grips, like, if it's wood, like, not happening.
Yeah. But it's very obvious to see that, I guess, in summary, that there definitely is some, at least to some extent, same product, different logo. Just walking around SHOT Show floor, you can see people walking around with like little 3D scanners. Like they're just going to go rip this thing off. It's going to be the same damn thing. They're going to put their name on it. Who knows who they work for, but they're out there and they're not that secretive.
The only thing that's interesting to me is when you get into the firearms world and you get things, and I guess, I'm not taking shots, I'm just interested. So if you're gonna white label a complete firearm for someone else, and so by white label, listeners, basically, Matt wants to sell a gun, I've got my own company, I basically build the whole gun for him, put his roll mark on it, all that stuff, and ship it to him. It's really similar to, um, it's really similar to like these suppressors that are white label, third partied. Mike Pappas has said, hey, he designs them, sources them out, gets people to build them, and he doesn't care. And if you got time on your machine, he'll give you work too. When it comes to guns, though, I look at some of these manufacturers that are making guns and they're 50% to 100% more expensive than the guns that they're making for other people. And I'm wondering, like, how much better is yours and why can't you come off your price? And it's especially starting to true with this run on 2011s or double stack 1911s or whatever. Like, if you can make one this expensive or at this savings for this person, why aren't you just doing that yourself? I don't know.
Is a curious question, and it is a weird anomaly in this market. I wanted to mention that of like use the same product, but you're going to put your name on it, and it's 20% more, 30% more. Uh, but it's
Yeah.
true. It happens.
Premium performance doesn't have to come with a premium price tag. The Voodoo X series combines trusted EOTech quality with the features shooters rely on most. Adjustable parallax for clarity at any distance, an illuminated reticle for all lighting conditions, and magnification ranges for every scenario. Whether you're chasing big game or ringing steel, this lineup can do it all. The Voodoo X series from EOTech, precision within reach.
All right, everybody, welcome back from the short break. Mike, I want to jump into it with you. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but gatekeeping and industry culture. So in our approximate 3 years of this, have you experienced gatekeeping, and has it changed the longer we've been here?
Yes and yes. When we first started this podcast, we were told by other creators that they weren't gatekeepers themselves, but they were cool with gatekeeping because they kind of, I guess, described it similarly as paying your dues. The industry wants to make sure that your intentions are true. You are who you say you are, and all of that. So yeah, I mean, when we first started out, I mean, we were cold calling everybody and their mother, and I'm very appreciative of all of our guests that were our first guests. Were some of them smaller than you know and when I say smaller, I guess in following and size and market influence, were they smaller than some of the people we're having on now? Absolutely. But so were we. So I kind of believe in the statement our homie Chase says, the crawl, walk, run. And we definitely crawled when we started. And there were some cool ones, man. Um, John Patton was a cool one. He was a creator that didn't need to give us time of day, and he came on.
Yep.
Jerry Giannis,
Yep.
Mike Mills, um, Chris Blau, and Jake Dwyer, previously both at 1911. Now Jake's running it. I mean, yeah, I mean, there is gatekeeping. I think some of it is for good. I tell people that, I've gatekept myself.
Mm.
And it. We've been on shows and went on people's podcasts, and they literally come to me and say, "Hey man, I love that you guys had so and so on your show. I want so and so on my show. Have contact with them." Yeah, a matter of fact, I've got their phone number. "Oh man, give it to me." Dude, I'm not doing that. Like, "Oh, well, get me in contact." I'm not doing that either. But what I will tell you is, I'm a guy that gives options. I'd tell that person, "Hey, reach out to them on whatever social media platform they follow them on and say, reach out." I will reach out to them and say, "Hey, there's a guy who asked me about getting you on the show. I told him to send a message to this. If you're interested, check it out. If you're not, no worries." But
Yeah.
I always end it with, I'm all about supporting everybody, but I don't vouch for anybody because,
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm just not that guy. I mean, unless I truly know you, I'm not going to vouch, but I am supportive. We've given other podcast guests, we've given other shows guests, and we've put people in touch and got people jobs. But let me rewind. We haven't done all of that. We have opened a door for that to happen, and they've done it themselves. Because I don't want to be that, because if it goes, it's our fault.
Yeah.
What-
I mean, the gatekeeping is definitely real, and I am both annoyed by it, but also have had to use the technique of gatekeeping, I guess, in that nobody picked us up and pushed us through a door. We had to get up and walk through a door, and luckily there's some kind folks there holding the door open for us, right? And we had to walk up and introduce ourselves. Some doors are further walks than others, and we'll do the same thing of, "Hey, I'm going to hold the door open for you, but I want to shake your hand on the way in, and I'm not not pushing you through the door. You got to be out here doing the work too. But any way that I can be helpful, I will. But I'm, on the range a couple of months ago, I got a call from Jim Fuller, and in jest, somebody's like, "Oh, you should give me his number." It's like, no, I'm not going to give you Jim Fuller's number. He called me to talk to me about my show. Like, I was talking to Jim Fuller, but I'm not just going to hand his number out. So there's two sides of the gatekeeping coin. It is a real thing. If you are trying to break out and be a content creator in some form, really consistency is the key. Keep showing up, keep making an effort, and people will recognize that.
So how does the balance of in your experience, how does the balance of access weigh versus credibility?
Well, I'm
I was
living.
gonna I was gonna say I equate it to like when you first turn 18 and you're ready to buy your new car, or you want to go buy a car and you're frustrated because you go to the dealership, and whether you're buying a brand new one off the lot or you're buying a $3,000 one, and that's all because that's the one you got, or the $1,000 one, whatever. It's not about the money. You
Mm.
go in and the guy at the counter says, "Hey man, you're not approved." And you're like, "Why?" "Well, you don't have credit." And and it happened to me. And I'm like, well, how the hell am I supposed to buy a
Get credit.
established credit if you're telling me you're not going to give me credit? And they're like, well, and here's where this comes in. It's like, well, you need a cosigner. And so I think that in this industry, even the small people
Yeah.
say that, and I only say small based off of followings. And I have a really small following, but there are people that have under 300 followers that you would be amazed at who they know and
Mm-hmm.
reach out in contact. And so you have to work the system and figure out like, all right, where's the finish line? This is it. Now, how do I get there? And you have to plot your route just like we do in podcasts. We want somebody, we might have to go through 4 previous guests just to get an introduction, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, I think I'm going to come back to like consistency is key, because again, there was a time that we didn't know anybody. We didn't have anybody's phone number really. And and Adam was there helping us grind at the beginning too, get that snowball rolling. Hats off to him. But it really just took like being willing to hear no. And how many times can you hear no? And if you can let no roll off your shoulder, bro, you can go you can go a long ways. I'm the cold call king, baby.
Well, saying in sales, it 10 no's to every one
Yeah.
maybe. Yes, it's a maybe. So as long as you're cool and you understand that it's probably not going to work in your favor, it's not the ask, it's how you handle yourself.
Mhm.
And we've came back to get us in some cases and haunt us. And in other cases, it's helped us because we've asked certain companies or people to come on. They say no. And depending on the mood one of us was in, we might have said, well, yeah, well, you know what? Screw you. We don't need you. And we move on. And then we get big enough and we're like, hey, let's reach out. And they're like, yeah, no, we had a bad experience with you already, which that might be one person. But most of the time it's, oh, yeah, I remember you guys. And it's like, well, hey, we're still here. We're still knocking. And they're like, all right, cool. We'll do it.
Mhm. Justin's a great example. I'm gonna put him on blast. Justin from JMac. We've been talking to him, and he had a baby and stuff happen too. But there was a point where he was like, I don't know, dude. Like whiskey and windage, like liquor and guns. I don't know.
I call Justin out because I started talking to this dude as well. And
He's your new best friend, dude.
at first it was, oh man, yeah, we're definitely in, but we're going to Italy. All right, bet. This is before they announced the pregnancy.
Yeah,
This was like their last,
that Italy trip.
this was like their last vacation as husband and wife, family of 2. So,
Mm.
all right, cool. Then they came back. They still hadn't announced it yet. And they started putting together the resemblance of what looked like a podcast. And it was like, whoa, wait a like, dang, y'all did us like that. And then, they were blessed to have the baby. And we just stayed in contact. And finally it was like, yeah. And then it happened and it was like, yo, we need to do this more often. So I say all that joking, like I'm not mad at him, but
Consistency is key, and shake people's hands and remind them constantly, hey, I like you. I like what you're doing.
yeah,
Come
this,
hang out.
all right. So let's shift gears because this one has the makings of getting kind of spicy.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I'll just ask you the question and I'll let you kind of roll. Have you met, we're going to talk about creators and authenticity. So have you met a prominent creator who in actuality really isn't into guns that much or not that knowledgeable?
Short answer, yes.
All right. Without revealing too much, just kind of walk me through it. Or can't
So
you?
without getting too okay, so I'm sure it's both sides of men and women. My personal experience was with a female creator who's uses that femininity, I guess, to help promote her following as a gun creator. And she's just not about that life, dude. And I had a really unpleasant personal experience with this person, and I was upset about it. Like I said, we keep receipts. I'm not a
I,
grudge holder, but I don't like this person, and I avoid them like the plague.
I'm not a I'm not a grudge holder when it comes to this. Well, actually, there's two or three of them, but one in particular, and you may not even know who I'm talking about on this, but it blows my mind that when the camera is, I'm not even sure this person EDCs or even has it in the glove box or the console. Like, and when it comes to shooting, they're good at shooting because they're on camera so much, but they're not on as enough as, some of the more prominent shooters and, guys that could, I don't want to call them operators because it's a different method of training, but they're good. And but these guys can hold their own with the average gun guy,
Mhm.
the average shooter. And, if they weren't on social media and they weren't making money doing it, I don't know if they'd shoot. But
I-
I don't fault them because I could look at video game guys and I could say that if certain people, yeah, you're still good at video games, but if you weren't, I don't know, twitching, whatever they do, wh- like it's like she logs in to watch people play games and not play the game herself. But like, if they weren't monetized to make money playing the game, I don't know if they'd play it as much as they play it or play the specific games they play. But I see that in the gun industry. And again, I'm not knocking it because I respect the grind. But it's an interesting thing. And, I see arguments about people, oh, this guy can do it, or oh, this so and so can do. And it's like, yeah, but they're not what you think. I don't know. But I guess my question for you, you talked about a one, but let's kind of shift gears and think about somebody different if you can, and talk about the difference between, because there are people who have camera skills. There
Mm.
are people who can sit in front of a camera and it doesn't matter if it's firearms or if it's stock investment tips or if it's how to paint a wall or how to change the oil in your truck, or, how to plant garden. Like, there are people that are good in front of the camera, and as long as they have, a subject to discuss, they're good. And then there's people who are just damn good, and they don't even care if it's on camera. So, kinda talk about the difference between content skill and subject expertise.
Mm, that's a tough one too, because I honestly I think both of them are important. Like there's always going to be somebody who looks great on camera doing whatever the heck they're doing and may not be the subject matter expert. Um it's hard without getting too specific, but I think as a general rule of thumb, you can assume that just because it looks great on camera doesn't mean they always know something. Uh, Another analogy, people will say, well, my brother in law was in the Air Force and he taught me about the AR 15, so I'm pretty sure he knows. And it's like, excuse me, like I appreciate his service. Thank you very much. But if you're using circumstantial third party evidence to try and win whatever argument, chances are that you don't you don't know,
Mhm.
and now you've drugged your poor brother-in-law into this argument. um but just because they look good on camera or they have some credential or something they've done doesn't mean that they are a subject matter expert. There's very few things that I'm a subject matter expert on. um so also take that with a grain of salt. But
Well, you look at actors. I mean, you
yeah.
you look at actors, and there could be an actor that's really, in, you know, action shooting movies. Doesn't mean they're a really good shooter in real life. There's people that, I'm sure, I don't know, but I'm sure there's people that do, well, I guess I know there's people that do like home remodel shows, and they
Yeah.
team in a production, and they don't really know how to do all that stuff. They're getting
They couldn't even run a cocking gun like.
so, I mean, again, and I say that, reinforcing the fact that we're not calling people out saying that they don't know, because I could look at it from my own perspective, saying, the difference in content skill and subject expertise. First, I don't claim to be either, but I can look at, my growth from the first time we hit record on an episode
Oh.
to now, and I can say without a doubt I have grown in skill. I can also say I've
Yeah.
in subject expertise, but it's still, I don't know. I guess it's the humble part, but I'm still in no way claiming to be an expert, because I mean, honestly, I don't want to be. I want there to be
Yeah.
some chase, and I don't even think I can catch them. But if I don't have someone to chase that I look up to, or that I want to emulate a little bit, or take this from this show, like, then if I'm at the top, like, I guess my question would be, what's wrong with you people? Why?
That's fair. I tell people like, oh man, you know everything. I know a couple of things about a couple of things, but I hope to be a student forever. Like you learn a lot more if you shut the hell up and take some knowledge in, especially if you can recognize that it's knowledge. I want to ask you, Mikey, because it's still kind of on that subject of authenticity, but how authentic are gun reviews on social media, gun or gear reviews on social media?
Man. So I'm gonna have to say, knowing what I know and knowing who I know, it's a mixed bag, honestly. Um, you look at someone like, um, Jake Dwyer, who does these gun reviews, and some of these guns, they're unobtainium, and
Mhm.
you look at the research and the development, and and the behind the scenes effort that you just know he put in to put a show together like that. Like, I think they're legit. Now, I will also say, similar to us with our advertisers, I forget the name of the company. Sorry, I forgot it, but they released those movie pistols that you got two of. I forget what company made those. It was in a movie and you could get matching pistols, and 1911 worked with this company to bring those out. Like, make no mistake, I understand that he was making money off those sales, just like everybody else. If I guess in reality, you're swayed. Um, y- y- everyone has a degree. Everyone has a degree of bias. If
Mm.
some There's very few companies that are going to send you out, even if it's on loan, which I highly recommend. I highly don't recommend. Don't try to get something worth your time, but there's very few companies that are going to send you stuff to keep or to borrow if all you do is that. You have to have some level of testing. But at the same time, if they're giving you the gun, if somebody sends me a gun or a product, I mean, I'm 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 not incentivized per se because I've already got the thing, but I don't want a sour relationship, but
Yeah.
like, I guess examples would be like, working with company like EOTech. I truly do like EOTech. I owned EOTech before anything happened. Has EOTech sent me something? Yes, absolutely. Um, if you use our code, do we get a cut through a third party site? Yes, but also it's stuff that I would run anyway. And are there shortcomings on some of their stuff? Yeah, I mean they just brought shake awake technology to the market this year, and that should have been out many moons ago.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, Wheeler tools, do I still break Torx bits, or do I still break some of the attachments that go on it? Yeah. Is somebody gonna say, "Oh, that's because it's cheap Chinese?" Yeah, they're gonna say that. But I mean, I don't care if you forged them in America. I mean, unless you made them out of some material that was gonna be astronomically priced, you're still gonna break them. And if they are astronomically priced because 'cause they're so strong, you're probably gonna strip the screw itself. So, I mean, there is a little bit in there, but I think that you have to do the vetting and see, if they've got 27 coupon codes and they're pushing something all the time, you just have to kind of take it with a grain of salt. What do you think?
Yeah. Um, I think that reviews are just naturally, because of the way that they're put together, like they are going to be largely kind of biased. Like you said, is somebody wants to send me something in the like that's freaking cool. Like I don't care what gun it is. Like you send me a gun in the mail, I'm going to take it out to the field. I'm going to shoot it. I'm going to say that I like it. Why? Because guns are exciting to me. Like I don't and people need to start to kind of wrap their head around it that way. It's like I'm not purposefully trying to mislead you or guide you into buying something that was junk. I'm giving you a first impression on something that I have just this much, just barely more experience than the guy who doesn't own one has. Like this is new to me too. I'm also a freaking Labrador. Like I'm a hype man. I love everything that everybody makes. I'm like, this is awesome. This is awesome. I genuinely have those feelings like right off the get though. And I think because of that kind of nature of reviews that you'll get a lot of that. Um, and then
Well,
you'll get the people who did buy it and 5 years later they're like, I put 2,000 rounds to this thing and it fell apart. And it's like, I'm sorry for that. I
well,
wasn't trying to be unauthentic in my creation of, yeah, right out of the box. I freaking love this thing.
something else to shed light on, which is really interesting, but it actually boils down to the marketing side of the manufacturers themselves. Um, I don't want to tell anybody how to do their job. I don't want to tell anybody what they need to do because I didn't go to school for that. But we're not
Yeah.
like we are not like, Home Depot's an example. We're not like, well, actually, that's a bad example. We're not like Coca-Cola. We're, the gun industry. We're not like McDonald's. We can't put ads and we can't put product placement everywhere because firearms are so taboo. So the difference with things like that is you could watch your favorite TV show and see a brand there placed and you say, "Oh, yeah," and subliminally it tells you, "Oh, yeah, I like that," or "I need to try that." But where I think the gun industry has started missing its mark, it's happened the whole time since we've been doing this, but it's been really prevalent here over the past 8 months, 9 months that I've just noticed. Maybe it's always been this way, but it used to be where one day, and I'm just gonna use all these guys as example, and I'm not calling them out, I'm just using an example. You know, uh, Mike over at Guns& and Gear would do a Glock 19 review, and we'll just say
Mm,
he in January. And then, um, Mike Mills with Tactical Considerations would do Glock 19 review, and it would drop sometime in March or April. And then Garand Thumb did one, and it was in August. And then, now Micah Mayfield does one, and it's in November, and everything was spread out. And I felt, or maybe it just gave you the illusion that people were doing these reviews because they cared
their
and
general interest. Yeah.
really interested. But now,
Yeah.
due to all these embargoes, like the and everybody's fighting for that position up there. We're nowhere
Hmm.
to ever be there, but everybody's fighting for those top 5 positions because they want these products first. But now you look at these product releases and the manufacturer has to be first with the release, and it's like, all right, cool. So we'll use Glock as the example again, just because I said the 19. We'll just say the Gen 7, whenever that's coming out, probably next year. The Gen 7 comes out and Glock makes a post about it on social media Tuesday at 8 a.m. And then all that is in your feed on any social media channel starting after noon is 560 freaking reviews on the Gen 7 Glock 19 because everybody's having to hold it and everybody's already filmed their content and they're all just sandbagging it
Hmm.
time. And so now it feels more force fed and it feels more like now I get the inkling,
Being
and maybe it's
sold
just,
at.
maybe it's
Yeah.
me in the media in the industry now. I'm like, oh, okay, obviously this dropped today because everybody's got a review. And if you're one of those top 10 people, not to disparage them or the company, but like if you're in that inner circle, what are you going to do? You say, "Hey, I just got the Gen 7 Glock 17 or 19, whichever one I said, and holy hell, it sucks." Like, you're not going to do that. So, what you're going to do is you're going to highlight the things you do like. And then, just so you remain legitimate, you're going to have to say one or two things you wish was done better.
Yes.
And you're going to save it for the end because odds are your retention isn't all the way through the whole show. So you
Right.
do a 9-minute review and you fill it with 7 minutes of
This is
beautiful
awesome.
rainbow and glitter, and then you hit them with 2 eh, at the 7-minute mark, and most people have already turned it off. So it's weird now, and I think the industry as a whole would be better off because we can't do product placement, doing advertising, and that's a shameless plug for us, advertise with us. But doing ads on other things and spreading these things out is good because also what it forces is if you do like these top 5 creators and you regularly watch them, if they all drop their review on the same product in one day, odds are you're not gonna watch all 5. So all 5, somebody in that group of 5 isn't getting your view most likely.
Yeah.
You watching 2 to you're not gonna watch all 5. So it actually hurts everybody all around.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Agreed. it's, I don't know, it's glaringly obvious after a little bit of time. And I think, and people can chime off. So speaking of retention, anybody that's still watching, like, chime off. Like, does it appear on YouTube and social that it's all kind of orchestrated for the product launch? And we've been a part of some of that on a small scale. So, like, it's obviously coordinated. And again, if you're the guy who's just always bashing on something, like, you might get some quick follows or a couple of companies, that find that humorous, but really that's going to die off. Like, you're not going to make any friends by just bashing stuff as a review.
I think we're also getting a lot of hate. I will say that too. The guard is changing. Matt at Demo Ranch has been gone just about a year. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less, somewhere in there. We're coming up. Um, you know, Eric over at IV8888. He cut his teeth doing reviews. He was killing it, and he still does some things, but he's not as prominent anymore. Hickok 45. I mean, I don't know when the last time he's shown up in my feed is. I know he's still doing things,
Yep.
but there's new people coming out. And I think that the people that have 500 followers that wanted to follow in those guys' footsteps, that are trying to do this stuff, that are DMing all these manufacturers and saying, hey, give me a shot, are also just a little salty. And I've felt that jealousy before. You know, but I think everybody's a little salty when it comes to somebody else being the new upcoming thing. I mean, look at Nick at PewView. I mean, I I know he was around, and soundbite this. Nick who? Like, who was Nick at PewView? He didn't come into my feed. Maybe he wasn't in my feed when we first started this podcast. And it wasn't long after. And I mean, everybody has the same questions. Yeah, that's cool. How many times did it take you to shoot that shot? How many takes?
Right.
But reality, like, the dude can shoot the wings off a damn bumblebee, and I don't care how many takes. Like, that is a good shot, and deserves all of the good things that go his
Mm.
way because he's grinding. But there are people who get jealous, just like in podcasting. We've gotten bit by the bug where we were jealous of other people, but there's also people that don't think we deserve to be where we're at, and we're still like middle of the road. Like, there's people that think that they're better than us, and I hope they are. Like, come on, pass us, like, so I can chase you too. But I don't know. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think anybody who has that kind of perspective doesn't really know. And I guess in the moment it's easy to be envious. But a big perspective is like consistency. Keep showing up and doing it. That's how you learn to do it. That's how you'll get through it. That's how people are going to learn who the hell you are.
When precision matters, every detail counts. The Frankfurt Arsenal IntelliDropper 2.0 takes accuracy to the next level with advanced sensors, a sleek touchscreen, and effortless calibration. Whether you're fine-tuning or loading in volume, the IntelliDropper 2.0 ensures confidence in every drop. Frankfurt Arsenal, precision starts here.
Mike, I want to talk about marketing versus community, branding, positioning, just things that we noticed being, again, in the belly of the beast, as well as firearms to a content and product consumers. I think some companies do a really great job, and some companies do like not so great of a job in, like, I don't know, some are overly tactical, some are overly commercialized. Some companies are missing their core audience by like just putting out a product with no real like target of who this is actually for. And some trying to appeal to everybody, almost like PC for a gun company, like trying to appeal to everybody, make everybody happy all at the same time, and losing identity or not really being true to a recognizable branding for them. Could some of these companies' marketing strategies, marketing people, actually alienate the community, the people who buy it, the people who consume content?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason I say that is we'll go back to, I don't know, we'll go back to Coke or McDonald's or whatever you want. Ford, Toyota, Chevy, everybody in America. And when I say everybody, that one guy's gonna be like, not everybody. Everybody in America has had McDonald's, or, a handful of times. Everybody loves pizza. Everybody has drank a soda. Everybody's, drives a car. You got to pick a brand, but whatever. Like, so without any, just marketing in my normal day to day business and what I do for a living, not everybody, first off, has shot a gun, but more importantly, not everybody wants to shoot a gun, and not everybody has a desire to shoot a gun. So it comes back to that product placement for me, and I think that what you learn in college and what you learn when you in school learning about marketing, that is a very broad stroke. And when it comes to the firearms industry, it's as fine lined as it could possibly be because the industry is very small. Everybody on the outside thinks it's huge, but it's really not. And then when you actually drill down and say, okay, let's look at how many people in America own a gun, and then let's look at how many people in America, if a poll was actually done that's accurate and honest, how many people shoot their gun? What's the frequency they're shooting? Are they shooting weekly, monthly, yearly? You know, did they buy one and put it in their nightstand as the just in case? So it's really tough. But when you try to market to a vast audience, some of the marketing campaigns are not even centered around guns, and so there is a trade off of you could work with this personality. We'll just say that, and you could get, you know, 10,000 views on every single one you do, or 50 views. I don't know what's big now, because ours isn't. And this isn't like jealousy. Um, I don't know, maybe a piece of it is, but it's not really. It's just my honest opinion. How many of those people that get 50,000 views, how many of those people are really gun people that really want to come out there, that go to these shows, that go to gun stores, that go shoot on the weekends or once a month, that do the training or do the competitions or just plink cans with their friends down by the river? Like, how many of those people do it? Um, it's a weird crossover, and there is no metric. I don't care what anybody tells you, what marketing guy says. There is no metric to do that. You could get, I mean, it would be suicide for this guy, but just name any actor, anybody. I mean, it could be Keanu Reeves, John Wick himself. You could get John Wick to start doing legitimate firearm commercials. And do you think it would sell? Like if Taryn got John Wick to actually do stuff to push the TTI stuff or the Genesis, the Terran Tactical Gen 12, if you actually had John Wick doing that, would it sell more guns? Absolutely it would.
Yeah.
But how paying? So what I look at is in the industry, how much would it cost you to get John Wick and or some of these other guys that have, 1 million followers, 500,000 followers? How much is it costing you to get that person under contract to do these things? And then the caveat would be, how many mid-tier guys how many different mid-tier guys could you get
Right.
on board, spend the exact same amount of money dispersed amongst 20, 25, maybe 10, who knows, different people, and it's all coordinated. You'd probably get, I don't know if you get the same views, but I would be surprised if the sales weren't, I don't wanna say similar because we're talking John Wick and people are, the average person just doesn't understand that. But you get what I'm saying. So I
Yeah.
think that kinda missing the core audience, but also when you watch somebody who does a spokes thing for a company or is a face of a company or a campaign, and you really know, like, "Hmm, I can go look at their feed and see that, like, other than just at the range with my buddies shooting, they're not really doing anything or adding value to me." It it doesn't really sway me. It actually just makes me look more at that company like, "That was what we did? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool."
Nice, nice,
I
nice,
don't know.
nice budget.
I think that's a I think they're trying to appeal to a broader audience, but in doing so, they're losing their identity and losing touch with the core. I don't know.
There's some great examples in the industry that have done. There was a U.S. Manufacturer of AKs that went under, that shared the name with the Russian one, and they used a former pornographic adult film actress kind of as the face of their business, and it was like, why this doesn't this doesn't relate to any of us, like this isn't important. um and I think that's just one example, and there's lots of examples that aren't necessarily as extreme as that, um where they're just shelling out money for people that have nothing to do with their business. And again, marketing versus community. There is a lot of community out there in social media for firearms content creators, firearms manufacturers, and that whole economy. There is legitimate community, but there's also legitimate huge marketing budgets that were obviously planned out by somebody who's got a degree in marketing and doesn't necessarily know how to sell firearms.
I'm glad you said that, but I do want to, um, dispel some of these rumors. When we say marketing budget, we're gonna go back to the McDonald's, we're gonna go back to, you know, these things. You look at someone like McDonald's or it doesn't matter, just pick anybody that drops a commercial during the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
You know, there are large companies in this industry whose entire marketing budget for the year, and these are big companies, not startups. These are, you know, 50-year in the industry plus well-known name companies that their entire marketing budget, if they put it all in one single campaign, they couldn't afford a Super Bowl commercial. So when we say large marketing budgets, do some of them have seven figure? I mean, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
it's it's not that. Most everything, and by the time when you look at those budgets, by the time you figure, okay, I'm paying the advertising agency to handle the account, and I got to pay the guys that do the videography and the guys that do the cinematography, and I got to pay for this and I got to pay for that. There's really not a whole lot, but I don't know. I still think that I still look at it, and sometimes some do a great some do great work, but I look at others like you said, and I'm just like, somebody pitched
What?
that. I wish I was in the room when that got pitched so I could be as equally excited, because from the outside looking in, I don't see it, and I'm very confused by it.
Again, I don't want to. I'm a Labrador, and so I want to build everybody up. I do want to be the hype boy of the industry because I love it out here. But I think that there is in a very large percentage of companies there is a disconnect from the marketing department and the community of people who are the consumer of that product.
Yeah, I think so. All right, well, let's finish. So I want to talk about, and I'll let you figure it out. I don't know if it's being involved in some sort of, joint effort with a company. I don't know if it was meeting a hero. I don't know if it was an experience at one of these events. I'm not really sure, but you know, what is I'm sure you have plenty, but what is one of the cool interactions, that you've had in the industry so far?
I was really like genuinely happy in my heart to get to shake uh Hickok's hand at the Gundies. I know he's a private man, and I try not to like fanboy on people. I I, I try to give people their space. I mean, believe it or not, once or twice I've had people, come up like, "Hey, how's it going?" and like want to puppy dog me around, and it's like I definitely never want to be that guy. It was really cool to be able to get to introduce myself to the man, shake his hand. At somebody's content I've been watching for a decade or better. So that was, I guess, my cool fanboy moment was meeting Hickok.
Huh. So we've got so many, and or not. I've got so many, and they may not be big deals to some people, and they may be not not as impressive, but you know, I think one of the coolest experiences was, you know, being our first experience, and I mean, Adam was with us at this point,
Mhm.
but our first experience as Whiskey and Windage podcast at SHOT Show, and we went in with 0 expectation. Well, we had 1 expectation. So we were invited to go to the anniversary party for EOTech,
Mhm.
which itself was a movie. We got to hang with John Jones. That was cool. And like he hung out in our booth and like we
Had a
chopped it up.
drink. Yeah, we ordered drinks.
Yeah. But you know, we came in with zero expectations. We didn't know what to do. Like, all right, how are we going to attack this? Blah, blah, blah. Like, we completely fumbled the entire show. Like, the days of the show, we fumbled. Between, I'll call everybody out between Linnea oversleeping because she got too hammered one day and missing half the show to Matt's freaking feet hurt to Adam, getting on the wagon and being annoyed with our antics to, me and my indecisiveness and let's go here, let's go there, let's do this. And like we literally ran that show. I bet we walked 50 miles that day, like each day. I know we didn't, but it felt it because we didn't work the aisles, but
Yeah.
had somewhere to go every single night. And, we were in private party after invite only party to this party to and we had been told good luck going to any of those events. Y'all are lucky you got invited to EOTech. That'll be the only one you get to go to. And we were hitting, 2 parties a night. And then you go to this year and we were on lists for, you know, 2 to 3 parties every single day again. And so that's a cool experience of like affirmation
Mm.
that we were there. So I guess I was going to ask you next, about a person, but you said Hickok. So now I'm going to ask you for an experience. Then I'll tell you person.
So, okay, I started with a person. And so that was, I guess, my short answer, like really specific instance that I've really enjoyed and like sticks out in my memory. But honestly, the whole entire adventure has been a dream and a very interesting exercise uh in willing something to be, like, call it manifestation or whatever, but like if you set your mind to something and you work at it no matter what, like it can and will come true if you're putting the energy and the effort into doing it. There's been so many things that I've, wanted to do before starting the podcast that are now like I'm doing all of them. Like, hey, I want to go to SHOT Show. Like, we went to SHOT Show and we like SHOT showed the crap out of it. Like, freaking rock stars the first time I ever even went to Las Vegas and just freaking tore it up, and it was amazing. I wanted to shoot Kalash Bash for the last like 4 years. I went out and I shot Kalash Bash this year. There's been, the people I've wanted to meet, the things I've wanted to do is all, the whole thing as an experience has been really, really freaking cool. And again, more just personal proof of like, put your mind to something, work towards that, and let it roll. If you're putting in the energy, it'll come right back to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess yours was Hickok. I guess if I had to put like cool meet and greets, all that stuff, it's tough. I mean, like I said, our first year at SHOT Show, we taking shots with John Jones. I mean, like you stood
And
up to him
slob
and
squats with Kevin Brittingham.
yeah. So I think that okay, here comes the hate and the fanboy. I think my favorite relationship that I've built is with KB.
Yeah.
And I say that because before we started this show, I didn't own a Q product. I'll tell you now, I own one. One rifle, but I was a fan of their show, and that's the Live Q or Die podcast,
Mhm.
and Kevin fell in love with Africa, so he stopped recording the show as often, but kind of it's kind of that behind the scenes. Let's talk about the industry. Let's talk with the CEOs and the engineers and the big names in the industry. And I loved that, and I loved hearing it. And I wanted to do something once it was gone because I liked it, and I hope that other people liked it as well.
Mm.
Q has their cult following. We don't have the same following as them. We don't have the same interaction as those guys. But what they do is special. But I think getting to know him on a personal level and seeing not who he is, that's a whole different thing that I don't want to talk about because it's cool. But the way he treats his employees,
Mm.
the way he treats people that treat him with respect, and you know the way he looks out for everybody, like it's just really cool, man.
Yeah.
It's a really cool thing to see. So, I got to meet the guy that I wanted to emulate on a podcast side, and that's not even what he was known for. So that's it. So, all right, well, let's get ready to wrap this up. So, Chase has asked us twice at the Gundies on interviews, and I'm going to ask you now. Um, Dream guest for the show in the industry, and dream guest for the show not in the industry.
This one's gonna be weird because I'm a nerd and it doesn't necessarily like fit any sort of narrative of like big gun culture. But I really wish we could freaking nail down Tony at Meridian Defense. I know he's a I know he's a hard guy to get a hold of, but he's doing cool stuff. I know they're building front trunnions. I can't get a whole lot of information about it. I just I just want to talk to dude about his trunions.
All right,
That's
so
that
not
that's a
not a
and then not in the industry. Um, man, that's a hard one. I don't. Who would I want to talk to that's not in the industry? Hmm. I feel really on the spot and can't like think of anything right off the top of my head. Um,
I mean, it could be an actor, it could be someone in government, it could be someone overseas, it could be, you know, anybody.
I
Athlete,
mean,
you
I guess since we talked about Mr. Wick already, like Keanu would be cool to me because it's like it's obvious from a person in that space, you know, like that space is pretty hush hush on gun rights if that's something that they believe in. And he put in years of training for those movies, and I'm kind of interested on his perspective of the Second Amendment. But since we're living a big fantasy, right? Put it in there.
alright, so mine, I guess my industry, we've already got some wheels working on it, but, we're probably gonna have to change tires 10 times because it's gonna take a lot of miles, but, Travis Haley.
Hell
I
yeah.
Travis would be a cool one, um, and I look forward to a challenge because, um, it's kinda like talking to all these other people that have done something that's really cool, military-wise. If you've been on Sean Ryan or been on one of these other big ones, I gotta I gotta I gotta look forward to the challenge of trying to put a show together that isn't a retread, that isn't a recap, that isn't a lipstick on a pig of something been done. I would like to deep dive and talk about things that haven't been talked about as much.
Hmm.
I think that could be cool. And the easy answer is, well, we could talk about the importance of training and all that. And yeah, that is, someone would say, oh, everybody's done that. But you know what I'm saying? Find a way to
Yeah.
put our spin and do a show that isn't something he's done or in a different way that he's already done. And I guess my it's still kind of in the space, but it's more politician. I would like some time to mentally prepare, and I would love to have whoever is the head of the ATF on.
Yeah.
It it's easy to say president, but if it's the president that we have now, it's, "Oh, yeah, guns are great. My son hunts. Everybody needs guns, blah, blah, blah," and it's not this.
China.
It's if it's the old president, it's gonna be guns are bad. We're the ones with the nukes. What do you need this for? So that's all plain Jane answers, and but I think that most people would stick to their agenda in politics, and I would like to get the insight of, you know, the real inner workings and thoughts of the head of the ATF and what they truly believe and feel, and then figure out, are they able to enact those, or are they handcuffed, kind of thing.
Curious.
So,
Curious. Mikey, I'm not letting you get out of here, bro. I'm not. It's that time, bro.
say,
And so we did one of these a long time ago, and so I'm sure it's changed a little bit. NFA doesn't matter, cost doesn't matter. Really though, I want to know, and it's not the rest of your life. It's for right now for this show, but our both of our collections have changed quite a bit. I want to know top 5 guns on your wall. What do you just like actually love shooting right now?
oh gosh, what do I love shooting?
Like top 5 shooters right now. Which ones are you loving?
Seekins Precision. Right now, it's in a 7 PRC. It was in a 300 Win Mag, but that's Precision for sure. Um, sorry, behind my head. MP5, AP5. 5 clone, whatever you want to call it.
Old trusty, dude.
It's just fun.
It is a cool guy.
No recoil. There's no nothing. It's easy. You just point, shoot, you're done. That's a fun one. Looking around the room. All right. Well, I'll do the easy answer. Pick an AR because I can swap any of the lower uppers on it. But I mean, the AR is fun. Gotta have one. Gotta have one to shoot. That's cool. Since we're talking about fun guns to shoot, it's on the wall somewhere. I don't know where, but there's a 40 mic on there somewhere, and we're gonna call that one in there.
There's a 40
there.
mic up there somewhere. All right.
So if cost of ammo doesn't matter and the NFA doesn't matter, that's definitely up there.
All right.
And if the cost of ammo and the NFA doesn't matter, yes, I've seen high-speed ballistics. I know what can happen, but boy, if I could get that RPG up there working.
Heck yeah.
That bad boy would be fun.
It's all hypothetical, so yeah. Cool.
But out of everything right now, what I'm on my kick, my top one is definitely bolt gun, Seekins Precision.
Been loving that Seekins gun.
And I'm loving it. Shout out Matty Nelson and thank you, JB at EOTech.
Hell yeah.
All right. I know you're number one, so save it to the end. So go ahead. It better be your number one right now, but
it probably is.
Go ahead and start finish with the favorite one right now.
Okay. So I don't really like ARs anymore. Like, let's be honest. Like, they got kind of boring to me, but I had this like carry handle upper receiver from like a 19 frickin' it's like early 70s, an Anchor Harvey upper. This little thing over here, it's like a DOE. It's got not a single part on it. It's a Anchor Harvey M16A1 upper on a LMT lower and a 5-inch 9mm barrel with a magazine that has an ejector built into it by Means Arms, and a gooseneck mount and a Trijicon Armara. It's just a horrible, disgusting thing.
Well,
and
it's DOE at home on meth.
Yeah, DOE at home on meth. People have asked me like, oh, what buffer are you running? And like, I don't even know, because I just pulled it out of my parts box and like dumped it in there and it works. So I don't even know. A little CMC 2-stage, but I wanted a retro AR and I also needed a pistol caliber carbine. So I built that pile of crap and it's been absolutely flawless.
That's one.
So number one, the SIG 556. Here, let me get this thing out of the way. The SIG 556 has probably been my favorite gun for the last 6 months. I shot this all winter. Shout out Troy on their friggin' modular scope mount. Put a little LPVO on it, and this thing's been really fun to shoot kind of middle ranges. You know, I shoot a lot of run and gun distances, 25, 100 yards, moving and shooting, but that's been fun to lay down and really work on trying to stretch out the 5.56 round a little bit. Has been cool. Daewoo I've been shooting quite a bit. That thing's a freaking vibe. I mean, it's a Daewoo.
It used to be a car.
Yeah, rooftop Korean vibes. So it's not exceptionally accurate, but you look freaking cool doing it. So I have been shooting that. Was that 3? That's 3. I shoot my Sig Sauer P226.
Oh, that's the first pistol. That's the first we've said.
I shoot that thing religiously, even sometimes if it's just a mag or two. Like if I make it to a range, I always take it. I always do a couple of warm-ups and draws. Like I love that freaking handgun. That's my favorite handgun of all time. That's my favorite. That's my freaking favorite handgun of all time. I freaking love it. So I shoot it all the time. And then the big girl, dude. This freaking thing right here, dude. Mikey, I know that you're not an AK guy, but this is a Russian Sega 223. that's been fully converted by the homie Christian over at Embach Armory. He tore all the guts out of it, the trunnions, tore all the trunnions out, drilled out all the rivets, welded up all the old holes, punched the new holes in, recoated it inside and out. We cut the barrel back to 16 inches from 20 inches. It's concentric. Shout out Justin at JMac. He helped us with the aftermarket a bit, and it's just dripped from frickin' tip to butt in JMac. And that's my first 5.56 AK. And honestly, for a Go Fast AK, it's up there. It's one of the sweeter things I've ever shot, and that's pretty much Daddy's new main squeeze right there. I'm in love with it. So that's
All
my
right,
top
so
5 right now.
I'm gonna let you redeem yourself. So you got to tell me how you like that. What is it? The AIMS, the AMS?
Oh, on
Isn't
the
that-
Hollow Sun? I'm sorry. I totally forgot. Shout out for freaking Adam at Hollow Sun. He sent out this AIMS for me to try, or AEMS, AEMS Core 2. So the second gen. I have so far loved the AEMS. I think that I'm a fan of large square windows. I kind of like them square for whatever reason. Something about the square and a dot or a square and a circle. I just have liked the window shape. It comes with a great mount. It's at a nice height, and yeah, that's my first Hollow Sun optic. I've had a Hollow Sun light, but my first Hollow Sun optic, and I freaking love it.
Well, I think that about gets us. Before we close out, we'll do something we haven't really done on the show before. We've got a couple. We got great shows lined up. We're booked basically through May. Um, I'm not worried to. We'll find out. That way we can add this to our list next time we have a show like this. But we got some shows coming up that we're going to be recording and dropping. Bergara is going to be coming on.
Let's go.
Steyr Arms is going to be coming. We got a really cool. I'm excited about it. People are going to roll their eyes, but wait do you see it? This handguard from Black Label. They're going to be coming on. We're in talks with Zenith right now, but with everything that just happened in Virginia, that may move.
Dude.
The homie Jared Giannis is coming back on. Then we got 2 Jareds back to back. We got Jared over at SDS and Mac.
Mm-hmm.
Primary Weapon Systems is coming on. Meprolite's coming on. And we're going to be doing a real fun one. I don't know if there's a language barrier, but I don't know how the European's going to jive with the Nashville. But we are going to be doing an early show, us recording, because coming all the way from Poland, we are going to have WBP on. So Matt locked that in. That's going to be a cool one. There's no point in telling anybody who we're in talks with because there's a lot of them. And so I'm not going to put that out in the world yet, but those are the ones that are scheduled to record. And, yeah, so stay tuned. Make sure that you guys are, subscribed, notifications on, like it, please comment, do all of the above. It will really help, get us out there more. Matt, any closing words? Let it out and then shut us down.
All right, buddy. That's all I got. I had a great time, Mike. I think that we do need to tap in sometimes, just me and you, and talk to the people. On behalf of Mike and myself, thanks for watching Whiskey and Windage. We'll catch you next week.